Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us. I'm Helen with One Structural, aka Retrofit One, ADU1, and Balcony One. So thank you for joining us today. Today, our ADU Spotlight is going to cover Pasadena, California. Please excuse our office cat. She's quite loud, so she may be meowing in the background, but I'll do my best to speak over her. So anywho, today we are going to be going over the ADU rules for Pasadena. I'll be discussing both single family and multifamily rules. Pasadena has a really cool website that I'm going to show you guys that has everything really kind of laid out for us between the single family, multifamily, new construction, conversions. So they really break it down and make it hopefully easy enough to comprehend and navigate. So I'm going to take you guys through the Pasadena ADU rules. And if you have any questions, as always, feel free to put them in the chat, or you can contact us below or email us as well, and we will be happy to help you. And again, if you're here from my constant contact flyer, even if your property is not in Pasadena, please stick around because most of these rules will apply to all cities. As always, every city's ordinance is taken from the new 2020 California state laws for ADUs. So I will begin. I'll share my screen and we will start. Alrighty. So you can find this if you just Google Pasadena accessory dwelling unit. You will see this. Let me see what your view is. Okay, perfect. So as you can see here, again, this is what you'll find. I'll explain that in a second. You will find the breakdown for single family, multifamily, even junior ADUs, historic districts, and so forth. So I will try to keep this brief because Pasadena luckily does have a lot of information and handouts and everything too. So we will start with single family in Pasadena. And again, this is just regular Pasadena. South Pasadena has its own set of rules because it is a different town. So here we go. Just some background information. An ADU is an accessory dwelling unit. It has to have its own independent living facilities, such as a bathroom, kitchen, space, to sleep. It doesn't have to have its own separate bedroom. It could be a studio or bachelor unit. It does have to have its own exterior entrance, and so forth. And I'll get into a little bit more details with each type. So another bit of background, in 2020, these new bills and everything were passed as well as amended to help increase the number of housing that we're doing in California due to a housing shortage. So what changed, at least on the single family side, are some rules regarding sizing, setbacks, lot size influence, and so forth, and a lot of elimination from the prohibitions that were once there. One of the biggest things that were added in 2020 was the allowance of multifamily ADUs. So these are ADUs added to multifamily properties, duplexes, triplexes, 10 units, 12 units, and so forth. So we'll get into those differences as well. So, okay. So an ADU for a single family home, you are permitted one ADU or a junior ADU with these kind of conditions. And again, they're permitted in lots that are zoned for residential use. This includes mixed use. So as long as there is a residential property on the lot, whether it's residential or mixed use, you can put your ADU. Let's see. And you can do, and this is for Pasadena, you can either do number 1 or number 2, but not both. So let's see. So if you do an ADU that is within the existing space of the single family home, which is a conversion. So if you're converting existing space, let's see, you can do that. Let's see. But if you do convert these spaces, you have to have your own exterior entrance, of course. No setbacks are required if you're converting an existing legal and permitted structure. And let's see. And the junior ADU. So I see this is kind of following the rules that we've been seeing often. So if you are going to do a conversion within your home, it can either be the junior ADU or an ADU. If you do, then if you're going to do 1D, which is the junior ADU, because we get these questions a lot, how many you can do. So just generally speaking, I'm going to kind of go off here for a second. You can do, for single family homes, technically just one ADU. If you want to do that second ADU, which is called a junior ADU, there are separate rules for it. In Pasadena, although I see this in most cities across California, if you do the junior ADU, which as number 1 states, it has to be part of the existing structure of the home. Junior ADUs cannot be new construction. If you do that and you convert space into the junior ADU, and you are going to do an ADU as well, then your ADU has to be detached. So it can be one detached new construction ADU. I will confirm if, let's say you have a detached garage, if you can convert existing space of your house into the junior ADU and convert the detached into a regular ADU. Normally I would have said yes. However, what we've been seeing a lot of is that every city basically has their own interpretation of detached conversions, such as Culver City, for example, for multifamily. They are taking, let's say you have a detached carport or garage, that's under your 25% rule, which I'll get into once we enter multifamily. But in the beginning, it was either, detached or attached. But now, depending on the interpretation by each city, some are, I guess, classifying these detached structures as either part of your conversion or just detached. I kind of feel it should all just be detached if it's away from the primary house or building, but I'm not the cities, so it's up to them really, and up to the state. But anywho, this is for Pasadena, saying that if you do that junior ADU, which is the conversion, you can do a detached ADU. However, that detached ADU will be capped at 800 square feet with a height limit of 16 feet. If you have 2 detached single family homes on the property, so they're, it's, I guess not a duplex, they're detached from one another, then you can do, let's see, then you can do the same, basically. You would not be allowed to do the multifamily rules. You would still be permitted to do the single family rules. And this actually reminds me of something I don't think I've discussed yet. There's also a rule in the state handbook that if you have, and these are for technically multifamily properties, but if you have multiple detached individual dwelling units, so they're all detached from each other, then you are only permitted to do one ADU. I don't know if that applies to anybody, but we get those questions a lot, especially from property management companies. So you would not be permitted to do the multifamily rules, which I will explain soon. So the development standards, if you are converting existing legal space, there's no minimum or maximum, which is nice. It's kind of like LA. However, this is the first I've seen of no minimum because there are still California, building codes that you have to follow. So we would, of course, let you know if it would be feasible. However, I love when there is no max based on existing legal space to be converted. So if you have, a gigantic garage or anything like that, or storage room, you could use it all. No setbacks for conversions, no building separations for conversions. But yes, the ADU has to have its own separate exterior access. And then windows and doors for historic. I know there are a lot of historic properties between, Pasadena, South Pasadena, Sierra Madre, and so forth. So those do have their own rules, which I know there were other handouts. I don't really want to open them because the general rules that we've been seeing, here's one of them, windows and doors. For historic properties that are original must be retained. So you have to keep those. And that's kind of the same too for like the HPOZ areas in LA. They want you to keep any existing original garages for these historical properties. And you basically, build a wall behind it, and your windows obviously will have to go on other elevations. So it looks like this is the same. Of course, it says, unless this requirement prevents creation of the ADU. We like to preserve stuff. We like to preserve history. So If your property is historic, we would of course follow all the rules. The other rules too for historic properties, the ADU can't be visible from the street. We have to of course match all the architecture, all the details, everything like that. Those are generally the rules. They really don't want you to touch anything that's original, historic, that they're trying to preserve. They want you to match it. Don't change the look of it, at least, the facade that you can see from the street. So now jumping in, again, we're still in single family homes for new construction. Here is the typical minimum that we see, 150 square feet. So if we're building new construction in your yard, 150 square feet minimum. Max, this is something a little specific to Pasadena, although I sometimes see similar rules, but I will say at least in terms of lot size, this only pertains to Pasadena. So if your lot size is less than 10,000 square feet, you have a max of 1,000 square feet for new construction ADU. If your lot is greater than 10,000 square feet, you can do the maximum of 1,200 square feet. I'm kind of skipping over the 850 because that's for when you have a studio or one bedroom. So I still just fall on the larger size because, again, we don't design studios or one bedrooms at 1,000 and 1,200 square feet. So let's see. And then this part C for new construction for single family homes. This is, I would say, half and half across the board for California and half specific to Pasadena. So if you are doing a new construction ADU, but attaching it to your house, your size maximum is either 50% of your main dwelling size or 800 square feet, whichever is greater. That's interesting. Sometimes it's whichever is less. So again, part C seems very specific to Pasadena. And so let's say you have a 3,000 square foot house and you want to build a new ADU, but attach it to the structure. Since they are falling on whichever is greater, that means you can technically do up to 1,500 square feet. So I would say it could be from 800 to whatever 50% is of your existing square footage if you're doing attached. I will now just briefly explain the configurations that you can do for single family homes. You can do attached or detached. Under attached, this can be conversions that I've already described. You can convert a garage or storage or something like that. And that could be either already attached or part of the house, or detached. For detached, which I know it seems a little funky, but we work with the Pasadena planning quite often. Your detached can also be either new construction or conversion, and actually as well as the attached, new construction or conversion. The attached can either be existing conversions of existing space, or it can be new construction that you attach to the house itself. This is what's different from multifamily properties. Multifamily, we're not allowed to do new construction and attach it to the building. You cannot do that. You can only do internal conversions or detached. And the detached can be converting existing space that's already detached or new construction. So that's one of the main differences between single family rules and multifamily. Site planning, they want the ADU to be behind the rear building line of the residence. So no, you cannot build in front setbacks, which is pretty typical for most cities. Although some cities do allow it to be on the side, Pasadena wants it to be behind the rear building line. And your setbacks. This is something a little specific to Pasadena. If your ADU is going to be, and again, these setbacks only apply for new construction, since converting existing legal space, you can keep the setbacks even if it's on the property line. So if you are building a new construction less than 800 square feet, your side and rear setbacks are 4 feet. If your ADU is over 800 square feet, your side setbacks, they say a minimum of 5, maximum of 10, because they want you to be 10% of the lot width. And your rear setback is actually 10 feet. And then if you are building on top of an attached garage, your setbacks will be 5 feet side and rear. Building separation. This is how far your new construction ADU has to be from the primary building. Pasadena, 6 feet. 6 feet is I would say, the most typical building separation we see. Every now and then, some cities do require 10 feet. And I think I've also seen in some coastal areas 15 feet. Pasadena, however, is 6. LA is 6. Most cities are 6. A couple are 10. So maximum height. New construction, you're limited to 1 story. So can't exceed 12 feet to the top plate, 17 to the highest ridge line. And let's see. But they do provide an exception if the primary building or primary home is 2 stories. You may extend to 2 stories, but we'd have to follow certain codes. And then the additional standards are talking about the entitled ADU that your single family home is entitled to based on that California state exemption ADU, which says that you shall be allowed at least 800 square foot ADU, given of course that you are doing the minimum 4-foot side and rear setbacks and certain heights. And this can be regardless of your FAR, lot coverage, open space requirements, and so forth. So most single family homes are still permitted 1 ADU up to 800 square feet, as long as you're doing those minimum setbacks, fire safety, stuff like that. So that is for single family homes in Pasadena. Let's see. I am now going to switch to multifamily. So just real quick, in case you are seeing this, this regional early action planning, I took a look at this earlier. And Pasadena, they got a grant that's going to assess the permitting process to see how they can improve it and accelerate the ADU production. I'm happy Pasadena is doing this. I think every single city should do this because there is, I would guess, kind of a backlog, or not necessarily a backlog. There's just, I feel so much more to the ADU permitting and plan check process that maybe the cities or the state did not anticipate, or maybe they did and they, just kind of pushed it anyways to get us to increase housing. I know too, we get these questions a lot. Isn't it supposed to be 60 days, 60-day review process? Ideally, I wish it was. Unfortunately, it's not. Sometimes it takes 60 days just to hear back for your first corrections. And then even then, we'll submit whatever the corrections. And again, corrections are always standard. Corrections, request, revisions, whatever it is. We'll fix them, we'll resubmit, and it just keeps going through that process for quite a long time. And then not only that, it's not just checking the plans. There are so many clearances involved. You have your fire department that gets involved, sewer that gets involved, utility companies that get involved that have to check these plans because ADUs are basically, it's new development now being added to the existing infrastructure of your neighborhoods and your city. So it makes a lot of sense. Why? I just wish they really would have, just foreseen that these things would have happened. But easier said than done. And usually the way you experience this is through the actual experience. So that is what is happening now. So plans are taking a little bit longer than that, 60-day, wish by the state. So they're definitely taking longer than that. But at least when working with us, we handle all of that for you. We give periodic updates and everything like that. But during plan check, it's, in the city's hands, just going back and forth with us. So I will now hop into multifamily. And these are where, again, I'll explain some of the different rules. So I know I went over the configurations that you can do for single family, which was attached, detached, new construction, conversions, as well as new construction attached to the home. Unlike single family homes, multifamily properties can do still attached, detached. However, attached really only means internal conversions. Detached can either be conversion or new construction. You can't build anything new and attach it to your building. The second difference between multifamily rules and single family are the quantity, how many ADUs that you can do. So for multifamily properties, you are permitted, and here's something specific to Pasadena, and I would say half of the cities now. This is something when you are looking up your own rules, or of course, you can always just call me. This is something to look for. You have to look at this language. So they're saying that you can do A or B, but not both. It's nice that they even further explain it to say, but not both. Sometimes you will see just the word or you will see the word and. Now in LA, for example, Los Angeles, you can do both of these configurations. I'll explain in a second. In Pasadena, and again, in about half the cities these days, you are only allowed to choose for multifamily properties one of these types of ADU configurations. The first one falls under that attached word that I described, which are internal conversions. You can do up to 25% of your existing multifamily number of units. So if you have a duplex up to 7 units, that 25% is rounded down, or just to your whole number. You can do 1 internal conversion. So if you have an attached garage, tuck under parking, storage room, rec room, office, something like that, a passageway, you can do 1. Once you hit 8 units, that's where this 25% really kicks in. 8 units, 25% is 2, and again, rounded down. So even at 9, 10, 11, you can do 2 of these internal conversions. Once you hit 12, you can do 3, and so forth. So it's always rounded down, but you can do that 25% for internal conversions. Part B is describing your detached allowance, which you can do up to 2 detached ADUs, with a height limit of 16 feet. So again, in Pasadena and half of the cities right now in California, you can do one or the other. So you can either do let's say you have an 8-unit apartment building with tuck under parking. You can either do those 2 conversions, or let's say you also have a yard, you can do up to 2 detached. Or let's say you have an apartment building with a big rec room, you can do up to 2 attached, those conversions, or up to 2 detached. You cannot do both. In LA and a couple of other cities right now, you can do both. But in this case, you can't in Pasadena. Conversion, similar to SFRs, no minimum or max if it's a legally existing permitted structure. Setbacks, no setbacks if, again, legal structure is there, even if it's not non-conforming and it's on the property lines. No building separation, has to have its own separate access. Same rules apply for historic. And it looks like the same rules apply for your new construction ADUs, a single family, 150 minimums, lots that are less than 10,000 square feet. You can build up to 1,000 square foot ADU. And this is each. So if you're doing new detached for multifamily, this is each. Every now and then, though, they may require, if there's, the FAR or lot coverage, stuff like that, it may reduce the, if you can totally max out on, the 1,000 square feet or the 1,200 square feet each. However, at least in LA, we haven't seen that. Pasadena, maybe, we'll see. Let's see. Same rules for where the ADU can be behind the rear building. And it looks like the same setbacks as well, depending on the size. I will spare you and not bore you by saying it again. Building separation 6 feet, max height for new detached 1 story. So something I will describe here. I'm going to stop sharing. I'm not going to click the junior ADUs. I will just briefly say it. One thing also significant for Pasadena's multifamily, for example, let's say you have a detached carport. So in case you've already been working with us, especially in LA, something LA requires, if you're going to be converting your detached garage or carport, and you want to utilize that up to 2, sorry, I don't think you can see my fingers, up to 2. In LA, for example, if your garage or carport is non-conforming and it's on your property line, if you're doing the 2, LA is requiring us to conform and adhere to those setbacks. So we have to bring your existing building in, basically, on the sides and rear, so that, we have to do some structural work of bringing them in 4 feet on each side. What Pasadena has said when working with existing detached structures they say if you can convert it to its exact envelope, height included, which there's a caveat I'll explain, then you can keep its footprint, no problem. However, the issue here is a lot of the times the carports are less than the building code for ceiling height, which is 7.5 feet. So if it is less than 7.5 feet, we would then have to change the design, and most likely can't use the footprint and may have to conform to those setbacks. However, if your existing detached structure is above 7.5 feet, and if we just design it exactly as is, then you can keep the footprint of it. And then lastly, I know I said I will describe the junior ADUs. Just a little rundown again. Junior ADUs are only permitted for single family homes. They are not allowed in multifamily. Multifamily, you're already given more ADUs that you can do. And because of the rules I'm about to explain, you don't want them in your multifamily property. So junior ADUs, 1, they must be part of your existing footprint of the house. 2, maximum of 500 square feet. And 3, probably the biggest one of all, owner occupancy requirements. The owner of the house has to live in either the junior ADU or the primary residence. This is to prevent a single family home from suddenly becoming 3 separate rental units. So they want to keep the owner in either the house or the junior ADU. The junior ADU, I believe, cannot be rented separately from the house, or it can as long as the owner is in the home, though. You can't rent them both, is what I mean. You can't rent the house and the junior ADU. So those are the main rules. Another silly one, I guess, but it may be super helpful when building and could also save money, is the junior ADU technically does not have to have its own sanitation. It doesn't have to have its own bathroom. It does have to have at least an efficiency kitchen, but it can technically share bathroom facilities with the house. So you would need then a door, connecting the main house to the junior ADU. So that may be helpful if a family member or something like that is staying in it. So, and I'm also not going to click into the historic. I think I already went over that. They have their own rules and codes. It can't be visible from the street. They don't want you to change existing windows, garage doors, and so forth. We would design around that. That's no problem. We're doing that right now, actually, in South Pasadena with a historical property, and we're following all codes, and it's going smoothly. So that is about it, I believe. Sorry, my shoulder is missing. I do have one, but that's about it for Pasadena single family and multifamily ADU rules. I am Helen with One Structural. Thank you for joining me today. If you have any requests for other cities that you would like to see, let me know, or even just other topics, let me know. Please check out our other videos. We have several, even just on single family homes, multifamily rules, multifamily items that you may have not considered yet, like upgrading your electrical panel, sewer connections, all of that stuff that come into play when adding multiple units. So please check those out, or contact us if you would like a free feasibility report or just want to know what's possible at your property. So thanks again. I'm Helen with One Structural, your multifamily ADU experts, and I will see you next time. Thank you, everybody.